You're in the age of Aquarius. This is the time, even for every spiritual download that's going to come to the light, you need to listen to, really take in and eat from everything that is going to come from the light, that everything is going to come out. And I promise you, they have these documents. I believe they will eventually release talking about this specific antigen that was a part of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And this specific antigen went into the frequency from this black goo that sequenced the bloodlines, but specifically these blood types. And it also produced, it went in, and the antigen is when it went in, and from this black goo that spliced humanity's DNA, sequenced it, and caused these blood mutations. But it was the origin of the blood mutations, and it goes back specifically to the origin of what this fallen angel Azazel did, and the creation of negative RhD blood type that sequenced in the blood. It goes back to these hybrid bloodlines, but basically sequencing them, and from Homo erectus and all the other, you probably heard our origin goes back to Africa, but it's deeper. Negative RH comes from that. And so this age, this time period we're in, where things are still being revealed, but there's still a lot more to come. I do believe underneath the Vatican, in the Vatican, or in the Central Intelligence Agencies, they have a document or file hidden that has something to do with that antigen, specifically to deal with the negative RH blood type. And specifically, I can bring up this, that going into the altars that are given to MK Ultra victims. And basically it was shown to me like this, as like everything when the brain is split, spiritually there is a wall that opens up, and there's, for each wall, there is a spirit that inhabits that wall. And they can't see through this, they can't see I don't know, they can't see themselves, but they can't see a spiritual wall. They can't see through the veil and only the physical realm. But it's just like, you wonder why. You think, so a lot of people, like, we wonder, right, like how some people went and like specifically certain celebrities, certain people that rose to fame, and we thought their stories were normal. But I specifically believe that some of those people, if not all of them, have an origin of being MK altered, and the families, because how it works, they are given to new family members, believe it or not, that the occultists knew that they carried the blood type because they're all associated with these hybrid bloodlines, these 13 bloodlines, and basically for each one of these bloodlines carries that antigen, and they all carry negative Rh blood type. Specifically, yeah, negative Rh blood type D. And it goes back to that frequency that was in the tree of God, the knowledge of good and evil. And the evil really is just, you got to think about it, the tree carried the frequency, but basically the frequency was put into that tree because if you read into the book of Baruch, it talks about how the Garden of Eden was actually constructed by, and I believe it was done for a reason, that it was constructed by the trees. And you see these videos now talking about how the trees were cut down, like these big ones. The garden was actually constructed by fallen angels and the plants that were in it. And when the flood came, there was an angel that was cutting down those big trees with a hammer. Was an angel, and other ones had to tear down the trees before the flood came. And that tree specifically had 3 branches that were left on it symbolically for Noah and his 2 sons. And so there was 2 types of frequencies that was instilled in that tree. It was the angelic telepathic frequency, and then the other frequency was the frequency which was Saturn frequency, carried by these fallen angels. And specifically that frequency was carried through Cain's bloodline. And going into, it actually comes from that black goo. It was just like I believe it goes, it was frequency, but it was a spirit as well that was sent in, but it was already sequenced before even the garden was put there, that when they were making, Azazel was teaching about cloning and making these other hybrid beings, such as, like, you hear about cryptozoology and all these beings that they see out in the woods and everything else that goes into that, these different beings. And the spirit from that spliced went in through the bloodline lineage. And specifically, when it was already sequenced, that Cain's bloodline lineage carried on, and then it went on and created other different bloodlines. But specifically, these 13 bloodlines from these fallen angels and these gods, that it carried that antigen of negative RHD blood type through the bloodlines. So, and these occultists know which children carry that antigen, carry that blood type. So they're the ones who get put through this altering. And the other ones that would go through it would end up dying, because they know, these occultists know where this antigen comes from. And I promise you, this isn't a file or a document hidden away from us. And I believe eventually, if it hasn't come out now, it will come out about that antigen. So there's still going to be a shit ton more things revealed than you can ever imagine.